Happy, happy Tuesday. What's wrong with you?
I was just saying, right as you clicked live, I was like, why am I so much smaller than you?
You're a lot shorter than me in real life.
I know. Normally, I feel like we're more equal, but
You could raise your chair.
I'm already raised. It's okay.
You
It's
could
fine.
raise your chair more.
Here we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our power lunch.
Just used to the short life. It's fine. Yes. Welcome. On that note, welcome.
Are you gonna get over this or what?
Maybe not. Ever. Not in, whatever, 32 years. I'm not ready to get over it yet.
Your height? No.
No, it's okay. So yes, welcome to our power lunch. We have a very relevant to us topic.
Relevant to us. I think it's relevant to all investors.
Relevant to everybody, but it's very
happening
timely.
for us right now. Yeah.
Maybe timely is a better word for it.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first, the idea or the event?
I don't know.
I think the event.
The event came first.
The event came first. The idea came from the event.
Yeah. If you are joining us for the first time on our power lunch, welcome. We do these every Tuesday, 12:30 Eastern. We share a real estate business,
Our
mindset, experience, whatever's going on to try to help you in your real estate journey. If you are joining us again, welcome back. My name is Dakota.
And I'm Jeff. Hello.
And we are the founders of Opinacon Investments. That's our multifamily acquisition company. And yeah, we're here to share our experiences so far in real estate and hopefully provide some value to you as you go through your journey. As always, we set these up to be interactive. So make sure if you're joining us, say hi, let us know you're here. If you want to add something to the discussion, make a comment, whether it's a question or maybe an experience you have that is ideally relevant. If it's not relevant, then, we'll take it as it comes. But yeah, we want this to be as interactive as possible.
Yeah, so comment down below.
Or else it's just us talking and bantering back and forth, which can also be exciting. So yeah. That also works. We surprisingly were here this weekend. I think this is one of the first times that we don't have like an update. We're coming back from somewhere.
True.
Crazy or something like that. We were actually supposed to be in Winnipeg.
That's right. We were supposed to be in Winnipeg.
But
that event didn't happen.
We were not. That's okay. It was kind of nice having a weekend at home.
We'll be near Winnipeg soon.
We will. We're going to be going to visit my family in Northern Ontario.
For those of you that have been with us for a while watching these power lunches, we've actually done some of our power lunch episodes from your family's houses.
We have.
From different living rooms and on the water and lots of different areas. So see that again.
I was looking at our power lunches and I found the very first one we ever did. There was like a full presentation and everything. It was very different.
The presentation went away very quickly.
Yeah,
we realized, you know what, this isn't as fun. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
We don't need to make it a presentation.
Yeah, but it's been over a year.
Yeah.
We've been doing these for over a year. And you can actually go back and watch all of them on our YouTube channel.
All the way back, I still had hair. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Jeff hasn't had hair since I met him, so it's not that. You still
and I've always had a beard. Dakota's never seen me without a beard.
It's true. He can't change that now.
I often threaten that I'm just gonna shave it off.
I don't know what'll happen if that's the case, but that's okay. Yes. Okay. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about when to walk away from a deal, a little bit about when to walk away, a little bit about kind of due diligence that can lead to you walking away, and some things to remember if you do end up in the situation where you're trying to figure out if you're going to be walking away from a deal.
Disclaimer, we're not saying to walk away from all of your deals.
Definitely not.
We're just talking about when it's a good idea to maybe look at walking away.
Yeah, obviously the ideal is that you do a deal and you close on it, but
it has to be a good deal.
Yes, you want to make sure it's the right deal, and a lot of that comes with doing due diligence. Sometimes you don't know until you get into your due diligence what's going to happen.
Yep.
And it's really important that you keep in mind that you have the ability to walk away. Now, another disclaimer on that, we are talking about when you're in the conditional period. That's
yes.
really, really important, because as soon as you waive all of your conditions in your firm, walking away from a deal becomes a very, very different scenario. So what we are talking about today is when you're in your conditional period of your deal and you have the ability to walk away from the deal, get your deposit back, leave relatively unscathed from your deal.
That's a good disclaimer. I like that.
Yeah, I thought of it as we were talking. I was like, to clarify, this is very different if you waived all your conditions in your firm. That's a whole other ballgame. So that's not for today's discussion.
So for us, we do our due diligence in a very structured way. We don't just try and get through everything as fast as possible. We go in an order. Mm-hmm. That order looks like, really, I mean, the easiest way to break it down is get all your free stuff out of the way. Whatever you can do, get your insurance quotes, get quotes for anything property management related, whatever you need to do during your due diligence that doesn't cost you any money, get that out of the way. Yeah. And
going through their numbers,
getting
their bills,
getting
all
through
their financials,
all of the seller's
leases.
deliverables, the leases, the income, the expenses, verifying all of that. Mm-hmm. All of that it doesn't cost you anything, just some time and some effort. Yeah. Negotiate at each step as well. So if you find that you've gone through the seller's deliverables and you find that the expenses don't match up to what you had originally underwritten with, that's a good time to negotiate. Before you waive any condition, mm-hmm. you'll want to negotiate at that stage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important piece. Even when you start spending money, when you get to a stage like doing an inspection, we'll typically do that. That's one of the first things that we'll do when we're going through the due diligence phase. After we've gone through all of the free stuff, is our inspection, right? Mm-hmm. And then again, whatever comes out of that inspection, don't waive it until you've actually gone through it. And if there's any price reductions that you need, any extensions that you need, make sure that you get those in before you actually waive that condition.
Yeah, and there are different reasons to do that. I think the biggest one is seeing if the seller is willing to work with you. Because if you get all of your due diligence, like the initial, not just the due diligence, that sounds like everything. If you go through the seller's deliverables and you realize that something isn't what you initially thought it was going to be, and you go back to the seller and you say, hey, look, like you gave me these expenses, these are your real expenses, there's a massive difference, and now the value of this building just isn't what it was when I first did the underwriting. We're gonna need to renegotiate this. If this is where you get to see, are they willing to work with you?
Are they stuck on that first price that you mm-hmm. got the deal under contract with, or are they willing to work with you with kind of any new findings that you found through due diligence? So
you can see at that point, you're almost testing the waters. Are they willing to work with me? Are they understanding that this has to be juicy enough for me in order to buy it? It has to make sense. Because if you do all of your due diligence, if you pay for your inspection, you pay for your environmental, you pay for your appraisal, and then you go to the seller with like this package of evidence, and they're not willing to work with you, well, then you would have known that
right
from
away.
Step one.
Well, and not only that, it's a shock at that point. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to do everything all at once.
Yes, that's kind of the other piece of it, because you might be talking about this massive negotiation with all these different moving parts, whereas if you had negotiated along the way, you're almost chipping away at it, and they can kind of get used to what that negotiation looked like. They're used to that new purchase price, and then maybe you have to do another negotiation after you do your next step of due diligence. It's a bit of an easier pill to swallow if you take it step by step.
Yeah, and we're not saying to just negotiate for the sake of negotiating. When we say that we're going to chip away at it, it's really justified by logic and reason, right? So if you go through your inspection and all of a sudden you find out that the roof needs to be replaced within the next year, well, that's a good reason to get a quote, find out how much it's going to cost to replace the roof, and negotiate that with the seller at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just went through due diligence and we got through all the free stuff and everything matched up.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to negotiate at every single step if you don't have to, if there's no reason to negotiate. But if there is a reason to negotiate, you want to make sure you do that before you waive that condition and before you take it to the next step.
Yeah. I would be cautious because the realtors and the seller, everybody's going to be pushing you to get everything done as fast as possible because they just want to get this deal done. They don't want there to be any delays along through the process, but you need to be careful. You need to look out for yourself and for your investors if you have partners on the deal.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get into that situation.
Yeah, we've been told, let's do all the due diligence so we can go to the seller with like everything that you need, and then it's a full package, and then maybe they're going to be willing to negotiate. And we had to be really firm on our position and say, no, this is what we need. This is what's best for us. Spending all of this money just to find out that the seller is not willing to work with us doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah, and that's what happened. In this case, we couldn't get past the negotiations after the inspection. So if we had gone and done our environmental right after without having gone through the negotiations for the items that came out of the inspection, then there's a possible of like $25,000 that we could have spent, right? If we had to go into a phase 2 environmental, paid for that, and then
which
came
there
back,
actually was potential that we would have to do
that's
that.
why I use that as an example.
So
But you're talking about at least $10,000 on bigger deals that you can avoid spending, right? We got as far in this particular deal. We got as far as spending on the inspection, and that's it. We didn't do any additional items other than, again, the stuff that was free until we were confident that the seller was going to negotiate. It's essentially, we were waiting to get that price reduction that we needed before moving forward with the deal.
Yeah, because the deal no longer made sense at what the items that came out of the inspection and the property, what we had under contract for, those two things no longer matched up. It wasn't a juicy enough deal. If the negotiations had panned out, the things that came up were fixable. So if everything had panned out, it would have gone back to being a juicy enough deal.
Yeah.
But we realized that wasn't the case with this seller. They weren't willing to negotiate as much as we needed them to. So it just wasn't a viable deal for us anymore. It didn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
So if this is where this topic came from, obviously. I don't think we were clear from that from the beginning. We actually just walked away from a deal that we were working on. No,
I think
we
I
just
mentioned
gotta
that.
maybe, I don't know. We just feel like we just jumped into it. And I think it was a good reminder of how important it is to be okay with walking away from a deal. I think a piece of this is also, we were working on this for a good 2 months.
At least.
3 months?
At least 2 months.
And it's important not to get emotional. And there's so many reasons to get emotional. You see the potential for this deal. You start, okay, let's add this to the portfolio. This is going to be great. We have some partners that are coming on board with us that have already come on board, and they've agreed and they like the deal as well. And the time commitment you put into it, it's really easy to get very emotionally attached to this deal because you've already seen it in your portfolio, like in your own mind.
It can feel sometimes like you've already passed the point of no return where you just need to keep going, but that's not the case. That's not the case because you might get further into this deal and realize, okay, now I actually have to walk away and and now I've spent more money, or you close on it and it ends up being just an awful deal.
Yeah. I mean, I've had students say, well, aren't you embarrassed because you weren't able to bring the deal to the end? Like, isn't it embarrassing to walk away from a deal? You've already said, like,
that's interesting. I've never even thought about that.
Yeah, like you don't want to tell people that you've walked away because you've been working on it for so long, you've been excited about it. But to me, especially when you have, I mean, you want to protect yourself as well, but especially when you have partners involved, if the deal no longer makes sense, it actually looks better on you that you've walked away from the deal, because now you can say, we did our due diligence. This is part of the process. We want to make sure everybody's protected. Through the due diligence, things came up. it no longer makes sense. So we're going to do this to protect
everybody
involved. And I think that's actually that shows a lot of sophistication to be able to walk away from a deal, to do that due diligence and then walk away.
We are helping you become sophisticated investors.
Yeah, well, and don't be embarrassed about that. That's part of the process. Things come up during due diligence. That's why we have due diligence.
Yeah.
So that you can find these things if they exist, renegotiate, and then walk away if it no longer makes sense. Sometimes things come up that you can't even negotiate. It's killed the deal. It doesn't make sense anymore.
That's true.
So
something might just be too big of a deal, like too big of a requirement for you to even move forward with it.
Yeah. So that's why due diligence is there.
We've heard this, and I put it in the description of this. Sometimes the best deal you will ever do is the one you don't do. Mm-hmm. And that's just being able to walk away from a potentially really bad deal.
Yeah. And it can be hard because you've spent the time on this deal, you've put love, you've put energy into it. It's taken, a couple of hours every day of your life potentially.
Every day of your life.
Every
day of the last 2 months or whatever.
Every day of the last 2 months of your life. But there's a time commitment behind that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is hard to walk away, to realize that, or to think that all that time you put into it, it's wasted. But it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's wasted.
It's not wasted if you've learned from it.
Yeah.
And if, again, you're protecting yourself and your investors. Just don't let your emotions keep you in the deal.
Yes.
If you shouldn't be in the deal, always let the numbers do the talking, mm-hmm. right? Real estate is supposed to be boring and emotionless. Let's keep it that way. Try and make it as exciting as possible, but again, don't let your emotions keep you in.
Yeah, be okay.
That's where mistakes happen.
Be okay with walking away from a deal, and a part of that is also the spending money piece.
Yeah.
Because due diligence, there are pieces of due diligence, like we've talked about, that are free. Free in a monetary way. They still cost your time.
Sure.
But they don't take money out of your pocket. But there are pieces of due diligence that do cost money. And you have to be okay with putting that money in, knowing that you might not go through with the deal if something comes up. And you have to be okay with walking away from that money.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is why we talk about doing the free things first, to make sure that there's nothing that comes out of that. But you do have to realize that there's going to be a financial component to the due diligence. And if anything comes out of that, don't say, okay, well, now I've put money into it.
Yeah.
I can't walk away.
Well, just put more money into it then. I say that sarcastically.
Yeah, don't do that. Because if you don't kind of cut your losses, this is another thing about being a sophisticated investor, is you have to realize when you keep pushing or when you cut your losses and move on to the next opportunity. Because if you end up, closing on this now, what could be a money pit, if you had just walked away when the signs initially came up, you would have had access to other opportunities. But now you're focused on this, what is now a potential money pit, and you have loss of opportunity in other areas that could have been, in the end, a better return on your investment, even with losing, that couple $1,000s in that deal.
Is it Kenny Rogers, the gambler? If you've never heard that, listen to that song. This is exactly what we're talking about. Know when to hold them and know when to walk away.
Yeah.
Know when to run.
Yeah. Know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the good stuff.
He teaches that in a song.
Yeah.
This entire concept.
Got a nice little twang to it too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's realizing that that's just a part. All of this is a part of the game. There's learning involved. There's time that, might feel like it's been wasted, but you just have to take it as learning experience. And there's money that might get injected that you're going to have to be okay with walking away from.
And know that the deal, just because you walk away from it, doesn't mean that you can't go back later, right? if you maintain a good relationship with the realtor or with the seller, just because you can't agree on it today doesn't mean you can't agree on something tomorrow.
That's a really good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So if this deal comes back to us, well, guess what? We've already done the inspection for it. We're not gonna have to do that piece. We've injected some capital into it, and that's not necessarily wasted if we end up getting that deal back.
Yeah, and this is where maintaining your relationships is really important. Don't get into a fight because they wouldn't negotiate with you. Keep it cool about yourself.
Just stay professional.
Yep, stay professional, and it could be that the seller is just not ready at that time. Maybe you were the first person to offer on the property, and they're just not ready to have that negotiation at that point. Maybe it's going to take a couple more offers, a couple more things not working for them to go forward with that negotiation. So, you never know what's going to happen.
They may get more motivated as time goes on. They may want to drop their price. They may be ready to come back to the table and negotiate with you at a later date.
Yeah. So maintaining that relationship is really important throughout the negotiation, which is where, we've talked about negotiations, I'm sure multiple times on this power lunch about, how to create those good relationships in negotiations. I would recommend, if you want to learn more about that, go back to one of our previous videos on negotiations.
They're all on YouTube, by the way. So Go to our YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified when we go live. And then also you'll be able to watch all the old ones.
Yes. And I'm sure we've done one on like how to negotiate in the more effective way. And a lot of that comes from creating good rapport with the seller and maintaining a relationship throughout it. So that's kind of where that would start. So be professional and keep following up. You never know.
I'm curious from our viewers if you guys if you have any good stories about walking away from a deal, or deals that maybe you did end up doing that you should have walked away from. Right? If you're willing to share. But yeah, put it in the comments below. We would love to hear from you guys what similar deals you've walked away from.
Yeah, because it's all learning, right? It's all a learning experience. I'm sure everybody's done a deal that they wish they hadn't done. I think, again, it's part of the learning experience. Thankfully, a lot of the time with buy and hold, it tends to kind of correct itself over time.
Time heals wounds in real estate.
Yes,
typically.
As long as you can hold on.
As long as you can, weather the storm.
Hold on. So I think thankfully that's the case for some of the deals that we've done that we probably wouldn't do again. And sometimes you look back and you just know more now. Yeah. Right?
True.
You've learned more, you've weathered more, you're more sophisticated. You look back, you're like, I maybe wouldn't have done that deal again. But
yeah,
it is what it is. It's all part of the learning experience. So
if you're working on a deal and you're thinking about walking away from it, send us a message. We can chat. About it. If you're not sure if you should continue with it.
Yeah, here to help for sure. But I think, again, the biggest things are doing your due diligence, doing it properly. It's there for a reason, and doing it stepwise and negotiate every single step. Don't get emotional about the deal. Yes, you've told people that it's going to be a part of your portfolio, and you're going to have to walk away from it. That's fine. Walk away from it
walk away from it with good reason.
Yeah, it's better to just walk away from it than to have this ongoing problem that you have to deal with,
or to try and force it. Yeah. And
And
don't fudge your numbers to make it work.
Yes. Don't fudge your numbers. Don't pretend something isn't happening.
Yeah.
No head in the sand. I've heard stories of people walking away. Like we came out of that one pretty well unscathed. We paid for one piece. More than I'm happy we did, because a lot came out of that inspection that I'm glad we know about. And I've heard people walking away from deals and they're far more deep into the deal.
Yeah.
But I'm
100%.
sure they are very thankful that they walked away from it and again didn't get emotional about it.
Yeah.
So
Well, and every step of the way you're learning as well. Every time we go through the inspection, like I'm tied to the inspector, like like
Yep.
to the hip, trying to understand what he's looking for, so that when I go through and I do a walkthrough, that I can look for those same things and not necessarily need to wait for the inspection to find certain things. Because if you could nail that out of the, like, if you can figure that part out before you actually have to pay for an inspection, that's good.
yeah, I think the only places you didn't go were the attic and the roof.
Yeah.
I think
I went
otherwise-
under a deck.
You did. You did.
But I didn't go
You didn't
on
go
the
in
roof.
the attic and you didn't go on the roof, which is for the better, I think.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. That's okay.
Yeah. No, he went on with like full suit into the attic. So he had like a full mask on.
Oh, did he? I wasn't even there for that part. I missed that part.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't glued to him the whole time. Where was I?
I don't know.
Weird.
All I know is I was definitely there. But you were pretty much glued to him. But
Yeah.
again, it's all part of the learning, right? So
Yeah. I think that's it.
yeah, I think that's it. I think we hit the big points.
Yeah.
You know, I think walking away from a deal is just a part of investing in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you do your due diligence, right?
Yeah.
Not to walk away, but to know if it's good to continue and to find potential issues before they become issues.
Yeah. And if you have people that were planning on partnering with you on that deal, and you tell them you walked away and you say why you walked away, they're gonna, if I was a partner and someone came and told me that they were walking away from a deal that I wanted to get involved in and they said they did the due diligence and didn't pan out, I would be very happy that they did that due diligence and walked away.
Yeah.
Because I would
Instead of
rather
just trying to push through it.
Yeah, I'd rather them be protecting us as a whole. So
Yeah.
don't be embarrassed. It's all part of the process.
All right. Next Tuesday, 12:30 Eastern, we'll be back here live.
With a new topic.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube so that you can be notified when we do go live. And again, you can go back and watch all of the other ones. There's a lot of really good conversations that we've had.
Yeah.
Also,
lots of different topics.
if you're interested and want to join us on our power lunch, we can bring you in podcast style, and we'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.